I've got a lot of questions on how I make Les Paul bodies. I'll show you my setup here. I start with a blank piece of wood. You can either size the top whichever way you want. This is a zebra wood top, 7/8 to an inch thick. I get a 8/4 piece of lumber. I draw out the size of the Les Paul. I make sure I got the channel route set up correctly. From there I'll set a brace and I'll route this down to an inch in depth, and then from there I will either cut the body or I will size the top. It depends on which piece I'm doing first. If it's a one-piece top, I will usually do the one-piece top first in the shape of a Les Paul and then glue it onto the body. And if it's a two-piece top, what I'll do is I'll take the two-piece body and cut the two-piece body and then get it to match. That way I know I've got the right size and the center lines all match up perfectly. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. From there then I take my template and I take this over to my pin router in my other videos, and I'll route the sides off pretty good. And then I get all the other routing and drilling done before I take this to my copy carver. So I get the control holes drilled. I do the neck channel so that I've got the right size to work with. Flip this over then, and I do all the backside routing as well, so that way you can see everything. From there then, I'll take this over to my copy carver and get it set up. From here I'll lay this down on my copy carver and I'll get it set up with all my center lines. So I've got my center line here, I've got my center line here running through, and I just take my guitar body, line it up, and do about 4 to 5 passes off this. You see it in my other videos with a bowl carving bit. So when the top is done being carved out, you'll see a bunch of lines. What I do then is take it to my orbital sander and sand those out. Once I get those lines then sanded out, I've got a pretty good dome going, as you can see here. The next step then is to route the pickup cavities, and I'll show you the jigs that I have set up for that. So from here then, I take the guitar body, and based off the 4-degree angle here, I take my jig, my pickup routing jig, set it up, and then I again use a top bearing bit and route out here, route out here. On the back side here I've got a wedge, an arched wedge, an angled wedge that holds the body firmly in place. The template doesn't move. From there I take the body and I built a special 4-degree jig then to, number one, get this angle correct, and then also get this angle nice and level. So I take this to my router with a top bearing bit and clean this out to the proper depth of about 1.25 inches, and then I'll do a couple lines here moving back and forth on this special jig that I bought. So you can see it's set up at the perfect 4-degree neck angle. I've got the toggles to hold down the body so it doesn't move, and it's set up perfectly so I can just take it and pass it back and forth. Other times, if I'm being lazy, I'll take the router and do a freehand route to clean up the channel, which is not that preferred. Or you can go the clamping route again, clamp the template, and then use the bracing method with the wedge to get that same channel here. You just require some sanding with a file to get that level. So that's pretty much how I make the Les Paul bodies. You know, binding, you see me with my router and the binding station, that's pretty easy to do. I've got my Les Paul carving videos out there as well, so you can see how I carve with my copy carver.